What are the biggest mistakes that Breckenridge home buyers and home sellers are making in 2021? Stick around because that's what we're going to be talking about today. How you doing? My name is Pete Deininger with the Breck Life Group here in Breckenridge, Colorado. And if you've been paying attention at all, you know recently it has been a seller's market, and really it's been a seller's market for about the last year to 18 months. So what does that mean? Sellers are really in the driver's seat with respect to acquiescing to inspection repairs, concerns about a possible appraisal shortage, things like that. And in many situations, we're seeing competing offers, and so sellers are actually having their pick of the buyer that they would like to work with. So we compiled this list of 3 problems that home buyers are facing, the mistakes that they're making, as well as 3 mistakes that home sellers are making in this competitive time. First of all, in these competitive times, if you don't show up with your offer attached along with that a pre-qualification letter from your lender, if you have not already had a really thorough conversation with your lender about your ability to qualify for the purchase, no seller is going to really give your offer fair consideration. It's just something that in today's market there probably are going to be multiple other offers, and so let's get a head start and really work on a lender pre-qualification letter that we can attach with your offer. The second problem I'm seeing from buyers is they want a property so bad they may have missed out on 1 or 2 previous other properties that they're willing to waive all inspections, just completely waive any inspection contingency. And we can't advise waiving all contingencies. One way that we have structured our offers is to waive the inspection objection. That sends the signal to the seller that you're not going to come back and nickel and dime them over small cosmetic issues or an interior door that doesn't latch or something like that. So what we do is we reserve the right for an inspection termination, and that just means that you're allowed to have your home inspection. We'll review the inspection report together, and if there's anything that is an absolute deal breaker for you, we can go ahead and terminate to protect your earnest money. So that's the second biggest mistake that we're seeing. And the final mistake, and this can be a really, really powerful strategy, appraisal gap coverage. I'll explain that in a second. But what we're finding is when people have missed out on 1 or 2 other properties by way of competing offers, we find that they're now a little bit more emotionally involved or anxious, and they don't want to miss another one. And so I don't think that they're giving fair consideration to market value. And sometimes we're seeing people bid significantly above market value. Now, of course, if you're prepared for the event where the appraised value comes in less than the contract price, we can write in an appraisal gap coverage that's going to allow you to bring some additional cash to the table, cash to the closing table, so that you're still able to complete your transaction. But it's not for everybody. It can be nerve-wracking when there are multiple people bidding for a property, and we're now seeing 25, 50. We had a case where it was one of our sellers, thankfully, they received an offer at $101,000 above list price. So, if there was a shortage in the appraised value in that instance, a potential buyer could be bringing some significant additional funds to the closing table. So if you have questions about the best strategies for structuring your offer in a competitive market, give us a call. We're always here to help. Next, let's take a look at the 3 mistakes that we see sellers making, or at least considering, before we sit down to speak with them. First of all, Many of our sellers have owned their property for a long time. They've been living in the property, they're really accustomed to how everything functions, and sometimes they've just grown accustomed to overlooking some problems, some blemishes, some things that don't work. And so the number one mistake is to not have a pre-listing home inspection. It is always better to know what a buyer is going to find when they do a home inspection. And in fact, if we do that pre-listing inspection first, we can address some of the more critical issues that a buyer might object to. And that way, it will show pride of ownership. If you've made all those repairs and they have a home inspection and there's nothing on that list, they're going to get the sense that you've really been attentive to the care and maintenance of your property. We are happy to help with a couple of different local home inspection companies so that you know you're getting a great quality inspection. Even if you choose not to make all the repairs, at least we know we can, on the seller's property disclosure, disclose. We had an attorney that used to teach all the continuing ed classes, and he always said, no matter what you do, at least disclose to potential buyers everything that you know about the property. So that's number one on the list. Number two on the list, some of our sellers, especially in this appreciating market, some of them have not really prepared for the tax implications of a sale with 30% appreciation in 1 year. So, if you're taking the proceeds of your primary residence and rolling it into another primary residence, there are limits. I believe it's $250,000 in proceeds and $500,000 for an individual and $500,000 for couples. Your tax preparer is definitely the person you should speak to about that. We are not in the field of tax counsel, but some people, if in the way this market has appreciated, if your proceeds are above those tax limits, your capital gains tax could be pretty significant. And so it's always best to speak with your tax preparer first to find out exactly what the implications would be before you list. And number two, let's start digging through your receipts and look for anything that shows the work that you've done to improve the value of your property, because in many cases, the money you spent to improve can be deducted from the proceeds. So my recommendation, speak with your tax preparer before we list your property for sale so that you understand the tax implications of a sale at these significantly increased prices today. And finally, the third mistake that we've seen sellers make, and it's really as a result of the high buyer demand these days, we are seeing an increase in sight unseen offers. So that's buyers from outside of our area who are submitting offers on day one, the very first day a property hits the market, and they haven't yet stepped foot in the property. Now, they've looked at all the photos, maybe they've done a Matterport virtual tour of the property, but until you really step into a home, you don't have any idea. What if they had pets and there's a strong pet odor, or there's high tension wires right above the house, or a heavy trafficked road right in front of the home. And so we want to make sure that we're not accepting offers from people who have not even stepped foot in your residence. So that can be one of the biggest concerns with respect to sight unseen properties, and along the lines with this increase in competing offers. And I mentioned this when talking about how buyers are making some mistakes. If we have multiple offers and that forces the contract price up above list price, then we might want to consider countering with an appraisal gap coverage clause where the buyer agrees to bring additional funds to closing if we have a concern with appraised value. So those are really the three biggest mistakes that we're seeing sellers make in this market. Thankfully, we're counseling all of our sellers to avoid these. But again, we're here to answer your questions. So leave a comment below, hit us up. We're happy. Give us a call. We are here to answer your questions about buying and selling real estate in Breckenridge and around Summit County in these challenging times. Thanks very much.